Hello, Delaware Food Pharmacy families. Thank you for joining us for another Dash Diet video. My name is Shannon and I'm a registered diet technician and chef. Let's get started. Today we're going to be making beans and rice, and we're going to be using the red kidney beans to make our dish. Beans and rice are among the oldest foods known to mankind. They're also known as a complete protein. On their own, like individually, they each lack certain essential amino acids, but together they have enough amino acids to form a complete protein. Today we're going to make our red beans and rice, and we're going to start with our red beans. And I decided to go with the small red beans and the dried version, which is what I know that you're able to get at the food pharmacy. Most of my life, I generally use this kind, which is the canned version. They're softer and they're definitely a little bit saltier. It's the kind of thing where if you use this, you might want to rinse it because they're in a brine. I also found it kind of interesting that I honestly did not know that this was how beans are in their natural form. Like when they're picked from the pod, the people who pick them dry them out. They lay them in the sun and they become hard beans. And Goya has cooked these and soaked these and made them taste like this. So I just thought it was a little bit interesting because it was something that I personally didn't know. In order to soften your beans up, what you need to do is either soak them overnight or there's a quicker method. So for my method, I did soak them overnight, but before I even got to it, I had to pick through them. Because beans are plants, they're actually legumes. They come from the ground. Sometimes when they're picked, rocks get in there, dirt, sand, all kinds of different things. So whenever you get a bag of any kind of bean, whether it is a kidney bean or a white bean or even chickpeas, you have to kind of go through the bag to make sure there's no rocks or debris. When I did this last night, I literally just looked at it in my hand and kind of rolled them down. And I did find two. I found these two little tiny rocks. Come here, little tiny rocks. That were hidden in there, that if somebody got, I don't even know if you can see that, to try to chew on, it would not enhance their beans, okay? And there they are, those little tiny rocks. They're definitely gray, then they don't look like the beans at all, okay? So I'll put them aside. And the next thing that we'll do is talk about the actual soaking process. I pretty much just followed the directions on the bag. And it does say on the bag that you want to take 1 cup of beans to about 3 cups of water, maybe 4. Of course, I did 1.5, so I would need about 6 to 7 cups of water. Had to do a little math, which isn't my strength, but that's about as far as I could get on it, and it seemed to be okay. Now, the beans here are harder. They're not as soft as what you might get when you use the canned version. Maybe something like the Goya cans, like this kind here. But that's because it's not done. We're going to have to add another step to the process. And we will boil these again, probably simmer them for about 30 minutes, and it will be the perfect texture. So now we need to drain our beans, the ones that have been sitting overnight. We're going to put them in a colander, drain out all the excess dirt, whatever. And actually, we can use the same pot, refill it with water, probably, let me turn this off so you can hear me, probably at least another 3-4 cups. Put the beans back in the pot, like that, and we're going to simmer them. We have to put them at a medium heat for about 30 minutes to make sure that they're soft enough and taste like what we all know and love as our red beans and rice. Now for the beans. We're going to cook them a little bit more. First thing we'll do is turn on our front burner. It is my largest burner, so I'm going to use my large rondeau. You can use any pot or pan. I just like this because it's open and it gives me lots of room to move things around. Put it on the heat. And then we're going to put a little bit of oil down at the bottom of the pan, probably again about a tablespoon. I'm not measuring this, so I'm assuming, yeah, that should be good. And we'll coat the bottom of it. Okay, I'm just kind of turn it around a bit. We are going to let it heat up for a minute, and then we'll throw our beans in and start mixing in some of our seasonings and tomatoes. Okay, so the oil is ready for our beans, and we're gonna just kind of pour them in. Oh wow, I hit some water. Watch out. So we'll set that aside, kind of mix it a little bit. All right. And then we can actually just start adding the tomatoes. With 1 jar of diced tomatoes with the juice, the whole thing goes right in. Now it's already calmed down. See? A little bit better there. And again, we will stir it up a little bit as soon as I get this thing. There we go. Okay, I can use my kitty spatula. Okay, now we have the rice, not the rice, we have the rice over here, we have our beans with our tomatoes, but obviously beans and tomatoes are not going to cut it. We're going to need to add some more things to it, make it a little bit thicker, and add more flavor in. So now we have to add more flavor. And from what I've heard, Michelle Torres is the queen of flavor, and this is her homemade sofrito. I believe she says there is peppers and onions and cilantro and something else I can't remember, but she will tell us exactly what it is next time when she teaches us all how to make it. I'm going to start with probably a half a cup to see how much it needs. I may add a whole cup depending on how much flavor I want in there. So we will stir this around too, and it'll give it a really pretty color. Sofrito is beautiful. Okay. Mix it about our beans. And mind you, we're going to let this cook for a little while to really let the flavors marry. Okay. And it looks a little runny. And because of that, what I do is I add in some tomato paste. So I have just a can of standard tomato paste here, and I'll probably use 3/4 of it. That's pretty accurate. Okay. Again, you can add more or less of things to your liking. I'm also going to turn the heat down just a wee bit so that it doesn't get too boily. That's not a word, but we're going to pretend that it is. And we'll mix this through too. Okay. And it'll get thicker. And then we get to add my favorite parts, which are the seasonings. With Dash Diet, low sodium, we don't want there to be no flavor, and we don't mean no sodium. I also don't want to make things that aren't going to taste like they should. So I was able to find a couple of products that I use a lot in my own house, and some of you may use as well. One of my personal favorites is this product called Adobo, but I found Adobo Light. So Adobo Light just has 50% less sodium. Let's hope it still has all of the awesome flavor. It comes out super duper fast. So what I've learned is if I'm going to try to control the salt in it, I better measure it because it will just run, and I'll let it too because I like it. I decided to go with probably at least a tablespoon because I'm going to be realistic. It has half the sodium, so that's good. And I know we're going to want it to taste good. So I'm going to see if this even works. Or you know what? I'm going to take the top off because that's not going to work. Okay, there we go. Now I can I just go in there? I could use a smaller one. Look, I'm learning as I go. I'll use the half of one. Here we go. So there's going to be one, and some fell off, so we'll do like a half of this one. All right? I know that looks like a lot of adobo, but if you used adobo, you know you need a lot of adobo. And I also have, so I was super excited to find, no salt sazon. I'm going to use at least one packet, and we'll see if it needs more, but I think one packet should do it. Okay? Look, it says there's a little magic in there, and they're not lying. It's good stuff. that right in there. Okay. And then we'll stir again. All right. So we tasted it, or I tasted it, and I decided I think it definitely needs more of Michelle Torres Sofrito. I'm going to add in another 1/4 cup. So that makes a total of 3/4 of a cup. It's really fantastic, Michelle. I'm also going to add in a little bit more of the tomato paste. And that's honestly because I'm not going to do anything else with this anyhow, so I might as well put it in there. It's not going to hurt anything. It'll make it nice and thick. So we'll put the rest of it in. Just consider yourself with a whole jar of this done. Okay. And I always, for my own beans and rice, I like to add just a little bit of fresh squeezed lemon. Okay. I think I have a lemon squeezer around here, but I didn't used to. So the way I've always done it, make sure that you don't have any cuts. But with your lemon, you can just take it and squeeze it through your fingers. And that way, if you have any cuts, you'll know. And also, you can catch any seeds that might come through. When you're picking lemons for this, just make sure that it's soft when you get it from the store or get it from the pantry. Because if you can't squeeze it when it's whole, you won't be able to squeeze it when it's cut in half. And then I will mix the rest of this together and kind of just let it simmer for a while. So now we're ready for our plate up. This is something that you could just, honestly, if it was in my house, everyone would just take it from the pots and pans. That's how it would go, so I don't have to clean so much. But we can also plate it up and make it look nice. So we can actually take all of our brown rice. Notice there's a decent amount here. It's about 3 cups. Just pour it right in there. And we can use a ladle so we make sure that we get everything that we want from the lids. Okay, and then this is more so too so that I don't make a big giant mess, which is pretty normal. All right, we'll just put a little bit right here. Dun, dun, dun. Give it a little bit of like that, and we're good to go. Thanks again for joining us today. I hope it was helpful. In our next video, we will be having a very special guest. Michelle Torres will be showing us how to make her world-famous sofrito. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to your care team at Christiana.